Does your child or student have an IEP or need one? Then you've come to the right place. If you've seen a special education assessment, then you know they're crazy hard to read and even harder to understand so that your team can develop an education plan that's relevant, useful, and meaningful. So inside this video, I'm taking you behind the scenes of IEP assessments so you understand what they look like, when to get the testing process started, how to read and understand an IEP assessment, and what you can do to get your child the best education plan for their unique learning needs. Hey, what's up? I'm April Rarig, your special education advocate and school psychologist, to make IEPs and 504 plans so much easier. If you're new here, go ahead and click on that subscribe button to get more videos like this every week in your inbox, and follow us on Instagram at Rise Ed Advocacy. Here's what you need to know about IEP assessments. IEPs, also known as individual education plans, are regulated under IDEA law. The problem is parents and teachers aren't given the instructions and directions when it comes to understanding what an IEP assessment looks like, how to read and make sense of those crazy hard assessments, what to look for, when to ask for testing. Oh my goodness, it is absolutely overwhelming. That's why inside this video, I'm going to take you behind the scenes of IEP assessments, wearing both my school psych hat and my advocacy hat to show you exactly what to look for and how to get it so that you can rock your child's or student's next IEP assessment like a pro. Make sure to keep watching this video the entire time so I can give you all of my tips and strategies so you can advocate like a pro. Okay, so the first thing that we need to talk about is, when do IEP assessments happen? And this is one of the biggest challenges for parents at the table. Pro tip, make sure to keep watching this video because I'm going to give you a tip in a couple minutes. It's really going to help you. So let's go ahead and dive in. So when children are referred for IEP testing, it's going to start what's called the special education cycle. What am I talking about? Let's go inside the special education cycle right now. If you take a look at the cycle, you can see at the very top there's something called Child Find. This is the district's obligation to locate, identify, and evaluate kids who are potentially needing special education services. This also means this starts the IEP process of the special education cycle. If you look at the cycle on the right-hand side, as you continue going around, you're going to see what's called the referral and the response process for starting the IEP process. Then there's the assessment process, IEP development, progress monitoring, IEP development, and then in the middle, there's something really awesome. Yay! This has to do with when your child is reassessed, because notice I said the IEP cycle. That means things are going to repeat themselves. And if you're a parent or a teacher at the table and your child is struggling and not doing well, you don't have to wait for the triennial IEP to ask for testing. It's pretty awesome. Let me ask you something. Now that you know about the IEP process or the IEP cycle, I want you to think about your child or student. Where are they in the cycle? Is it where you want to navigate, or are you frustrated and angry with the process and you want to do things differently? Hopefully you're in the next department like I'm going to talk about the rest of the time in this video, so we can get things back on track for your child or student right now. Make sure to check out my free guide, The Special Education Cycle, that lays out exactly what I just talked about so that you can get your child or student back on track. Get the link in the description box below. So now we've talked about When IEP testing happens, let's talk about the next big thing, the elephant in the room. When do you start the IEP testing process for your child or student? It's a really good question, and that's something that I got asked all the time as a special education advocate and as a school psych. Let me break it down for you because this is a really big passion of mine. There has to do with what's called the signs, or when you think your child or student might need an assessment. So what I'm about to tell you having to do with the red flags for when your child needs testing isn't just if your child needs an initial IEP. It also could mean if your child needs a triennial assessment, a supplemental assessment, or any type of special education or related service assessment. So are you ready? Let's go ahead and get started. So the first reason why kids need an IEP assessment is, most importantly, if you're a parent and you've submitted your request in writing for an assessment. The second reason why you could be assessing a child for special education services is if the IEP team has already decided, you know what, we need more information. So we need to conduct a special education related service evaluation. The third reason why you could refer your child for testing is if you suspect your child has a new disability or new eligibility area or related service need, or you want to re-establish, i.e. also known as pro tip, a triennial assessment, a current eligibility for special education assessment. Here's where things get kind of interesting. Another time or reason to refer your child or student for testing could be pro tip. If your child is regressing and not making appropriate progress on their IEP goals or objectives, if they're missing excess school or they're not able to access the curriculum, or before your team talks about changing your child's placement to a more restrictive setting. Yep, an assessment is warranted there too. Make sure to grab our free guide, When Do You Ask for IEP Testing, that lays out the 10 most popular reasons why your child should get a special education assessment, regardless of whether it's an initial assessment, a triennial assessment, or a supplemental eval. Make sure to grab the link to the free guide in the description box below. Make sure to check out our video, IEP Testing, and the 3 secrets in order to start the IEP testing process for your child. So perhaps you're watching this video and you're thinking, you know what, April, I want to start the IEP testing process. What do I have to do? And then you find out, I have to write a letter. Here's the problem. Pro tip. What you write in that letter is called a parent request letter, can make or break the IEP testing process. So number 1, you get your district to say yes to testing. Number 2, you can get a grade assessment. And number 3, most importantly, you can get your child to qualify for the IEP. So I have a step-by-step template. You can make sure to check it out here. And when you look at the template, it has a fillable guide that walks you through exactly what to say in your letter, what types of assessments to ask for, the eligibilities that you want your team to test for, and how to request for a special education assessment with 5 tips that work like a pro every single time and I use with all my clients. Make sure to grab the link in the description box below. Make sure to check out our video, How to Read IEP Assessments Like a Pro, with 3 tips that are going to guide you through exactly what to look for and how to get it inside a special education assessment. Make sure to grab the link in the description box below. So now you know when to start IEP testing for your child, what it looks like and about the special education cycle. Let's dive into how to read your child's special education assessment. So if you're a parent or if you're a teacher, I want you to grab a psychoeducational assessment. If you don't have one, then listen in and tune in and write this down. When you read an IEP assessment, and I can tell you, pro tip, when I was a school psych, I would do this in about 5 minutes, is you don't read the psych report from the beginning. You always start at the end of the assessment. Why is that? Because just like an amazing book, you want to see how it ends. So you want to look at the end of the assessment first to look at the recommendations, the eligibility recommendation, and what was recommended. Then what you're going to do is go back to the beginning, and you're going to look at that reason for referral to see, oh, okay, so they recommended that the child should qualify for specific learning disability and they need help with auditory processing, and those are the recommendations. So in the reason for referral, they were referred for a special education assessment in those same areas. All special education assessments need to be connected from the reason to referral to the recommendations. Then the third thing you need to do in the middle is you need to look at the standardized test scores and also what's called functional performance. What is functional performance? This is a really good question and something I talk about all the time. Functional performance is beyond the standardized test scores, and this has to do with how your child is performing in the classroom with everyday things. What does functional performance look like? Functional performance looks like attention to task completion, incidental learning, mastery, independence. It's so important to look at functional academics. And where can you find this? In the observations, in the parent input statement, or what I call a parent report. Yep, I teach parents how to write a parent report. There's so much more to a special education assessment than standardized test scores. Remember, standardized test scores only look at the potential for learning or how that child is doing at that point in time. They don't look at the actual performance, and they don't look at motivation and incidental learning and all the other stuff we went ahead and talked about. So now you know how to read a special education assessment from the back to the beginning and then be able to carry it through. So perhaps you're watching this video and you're thinking, you know what, April, I really want to understand reports more. I want to dive into it so I understand what to look for and how to get it. So perhaps you're a school psych, perhaps you're a parent, perhaps you're a teacher. The problem is, pro tip, parents and teachers aren't giving the right IEP training when it comes to understanding the psych reports or special education assessments and how to write them better. This is exactly why I created a do-it-yourself IEP workshops report course that lays out exactly what's inside your child's or student's special education assessment. It dives into all the things that I've already touched on very briefly here and digs deeper. So you really have a clearer picture in terms of understanding what your child or student is doing, how to change the model or how you write or read about your child into a strength-based, person-centered approach, and really how to reform the special education evaluation process so that you can walk into your child's or student's next IEP or eligibility meeting and understand exactly what's on that psych report, exactly what's on the OT assessment, so you can feel more confident at the table and ultimately your child or student can get exactly what they need without stress and get everything in one day. Make sure to get the link for our workshop in the description box below. So now you know what an IEP assessment is, when to start the testing process, how it's supposed to look, and most importantly, how you can read and understand your child's or IEP assessment. Got a question? Make sure to type it in the link below. Want me to do another video? Yep, you can do that too. I want to challenge you to put in the comments below if you want me to talk about something else. or you have a question, or you want me to expand on what I've already touched on now with another video or more information like this, make sure to follow and subscribe for more videos like this every week in your inbox, and check us out on Instagram at Rise Ed Advocacy. I'm April Rarig, your special education advocate in school psych. I can't wait to see you for our next video.